Istegen vilja leva genom mitt eviga medan stjärnorna tillsammans i allting livet. Medan änglarna ljudade och glädje kring sig på mig. Utan början.
Hi, Branson. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How about yourself?
All right. Hey, Branson, where do you get the clothes that you sell?
Um, Basically, I've been dealing with like wholesale T-shirt businesses online, and if it's like short run stuff, I can usually get most of the stuff that I'm buying from Lobby Hobby.
Is that a local company?
Yes, yes,
They're called Lobby Hobby.
or Hobby Lobby, Lobby Hobby.
Okay, so that's the national chain. They just have a local location. I got you.
Yes.
Got it.
But it's a boutique in New Bern that is a basically rural business, and they have like all the different colors and things like they have in Atlanta. They're based in New Bern. It's a satellite store from the Atlanta store, so I go down there also and get a lot of stuff.
What's the name of that business?
Hold on, I'm gonna tell you. I have the cord right here in front of me. I just looked at it. What did I just do with it? It's like M M MBT vinyls and customs. Oh,
Okay. No,
but
don't worry about it.
I'll get the information to you, sir.
Yeah. No big deal.
And I've also been making jewelry.
Wow, making it yourself?
Yes.
Cool. I didn't know, man. You do a lot of stuff.
I just be creative, sir. I'm just a creative type person.
Yeah, that's cool. That would be. I would suggest that might be kind of cool to do a live with you making something.
I'm working on it now. My wife is mad at me because I just turned one part of my house into a crafting area. So,
Uh, well, or do you remember? Have you ever met Ashley Nolan of Copper Ashes?
I heard you talk about her, but I never got to meet her.
If you get a chance to follow her, she goes live on Pop Shop Live at least once a week. But she makes jewelry. That's what she does. It's just a different. She does a lot of stuff with crystals and copper, and I don't know. I don't know that stuff that well, but she does a phenomenal job of selling her stuff in her live shows. So I would highly recommend checking her out. I think she's on TikTok as well. I don't know if she does live on TikTok. I don't think she does, but Pop Shop Live, she does really well. In fact, I think she went from using like, Instagram and a variety of different things, and I think now she's 100% selling on Pop Shop Live.
And her name is, what's her name again?
Her name is Ashley Nolan, Nolan, Ashley, Ashley. And a company's called Copper Ashes. And so she's got a website and she does these live shows, and you can, I just think she really knows how to present her creativity in a live format. I think you can pick up a lot from her.
I am going to be on that.
Yeah, and I'm happy to connect you anytime if you want to chat with her. She's very helpful. I'm sure she would be happy to talk to you. But she's got and I'm obviously not an expert on going live like she is, but some of the things that she does, I've not seen anyone else do as far as processes on her. Like one example that I think is really cool. So she makes all kinds of jewelry and she puts it out and she kind of goes through and shows the items to her audience. And then she'll ask the audience, she'll go, do you guys want to look at this closer, or do you want to buy this? And if they say no, then she doesn't put it up. And if they say yes, then she puts it for sale. So it's almost like the customers are picking the products before they've even had a chance to really dive in. It's just kind of a neat way of going about it that I had not seen before. So,
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Morning.
Good morning.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and get started here. Today we're going to go more into category design. I promise we'll just have a little bit more of this. It's just I'm so convinced that this is a really great way to grow your business in a way that maybe you hadn't thought of before. I'm going to start off with kind of the introduction, and then we're going to go through several of the examples. So hopefully everyone can see my screen, and here we go.
Hey everybody, I'm Mike Damphouse, partner at Category Design Advisors. Today we're going to talk about category design best practices for those of you that want to roll your own project. We obviously do it for a living, but a lot of companies can't afford to pay us what we'd like to command. So we're going to show you how to do it, and hopefully you can work with your team and create your own category. So before we start, how many people in this room walked in here today thinking category design is about messaging and positioning? Pretty common. Category design is not marketing. But category design is not positioning and branding. In fact, if I'm talking to a company, especially if the CMO calls me first, and they start talking about messaging and branding and positioning, I basically say, give the book to your CEO and we'll talk in 2 weeks. Category design is a company strategy, and CEOs see that. And if you remember, marketing is traditional, compete with your competition, say why you're better. Our software is this much faster than your software. Category design is about marketing the problem. You market the problem, then you worry about the solution and communicate that. And if you don't set yourself aside as different, you're just another player in the market. And that's what category design is all about. You're creating a new place in people's minds to put you, and a new way for them to realize they have a problem that maybe they didn't know they had. It's company strategy. Kevin went over this in the overview presentation, but essentially most companies focus on product design and company design. Adding category design to this actually treats all the other aspects of running your company in a way that you focus on category. Every decision you make, whether it's a marketing decision or an engineering decision, even a hiring decision, category is going to give you a different way to position your decision making in a company and running a company. It's making decisions. When we talk to potential clients, it's funny. You know, they look at the contract and they say, oh, what are you going to deliver to us? And it's like, oh, well, we're going to deliver a category name. We're going to deliver a point of view. We're going to deliver a category thesis. We're going to deliver a lightning strike plan. And the biggest deliverable is going to be helping you make decisions. And they always think that's ethereal. They're like, you're going to help us make decisions? But every project we've done, and yesterday was a great example, company just acquired another company. First time the executive team was in a room together, the whole day was nothing but making decisions. And those decisions are going to lead you to creating the best category you can create. So where do we start? Two people in a basement come up with an idea, write a little demo code, go to AWS and create a prototype, and then they say, what are we going to do? What's our mission in life? Start with, this is in the book, start with Dave's 3 questions. This is Dave Peterson, one of the other co-authors of Play Bigger. And Dave's 3 questions are pretty straightforward. Essentially, the first one is, what problem do you solve? Second, if you solve that problem, what is the category? And third, if you build a category, how big is it? So let's look at it. First thing you want to do is focus on the problem. A lot of people focus on the solution. But what you want to do is focus on the problem and think to yourself, is this a market insight, a technology insight? You know, Uber was a market insight. We are sick of riding in dirty, stinky cabs. They don't come by when I need them. How nice would it be if I clicked on my phone and actually got a car to show up for me? Technology insight, VMware. We have all this computing power sitting in our IT centers. What if we could harness that and create multiple virtual machines? Technology insight. And then lastly, what's the emotional aha? What will your customers understand and be felt like they're getting punched in the gut, that they have a problem they need to solve? And if you think that way, you're going to end up being able to focus on the solution in such a way that you're going to develop the products differently, you're going to communicate to the market differently, because people understand their problems. If you're having to educate them on your solution, they're not listening. Here's a great example. Bill Gates. In the late 90s, and I remember when it came out because I wanted one, they announced the tablet. And all the tablet was a notebook computer that you flipped down and you had a flat screen and you could touch it. And the way he communicated this to the market was, you can walk around with this and you can do things on it with your finger. Then you had Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, when he announced the iPad, he essentially said, look, we all have computers, we all have cell phones. There's something in the middle. And that new category is the iPad, is the way he introduced it. It's on YouTube, you can watch it. But what's interesting is the iPad is still a flat computer that you manipulate with your finger. But it was focused on consuming media, reading, watching videos, you know, just quickly while you're sitting in your living room, picking it up, looking at the news, or look at your calendar for tomorrow. And it took off like wildfire. He focused on the problem. You have a clunky computer and you have a little phone. What if I give you something a little bit more comfortable to work with? Still just a tablet. Bill Gates missed it. Second of Dave's question, what is the category? So a category is a container where people store the problem and solution that you've mapped out for them, And those cognitive biases actually cause the category to be ingrained in their thinking, and therefore they're more inclined to buy your products. The category name is not that important to the whole process of cognitive biases, believe it or not. Category name should be utilitarian. People should be able to use it. If you create a category called Intelligent Security IT Specialty Platforms, who the hell's ever going to say that? And if they acronymize it, you're never going to know what it means, right? Whatever that was, ITMSBC, whatever. So basically, think of the category name as your best attempt to label your category. It should be good and concise, but it's not going to end your project if you're trying to create your own category. Here's a perfect example of something simple and obvious. Noise cancellation headsets. It says exactly what it does. Everyone knows what a headset is. It cancels out the noise. And if I said to you, what brand of noise cancellation headsets do you buy? Most people in the room are going to say Bose. And that's because they established the category. Don't lose sleep over developing a category name. We just did a project. It went 3 months. We like to come up with a name kind of in the middle of the process. We didn't come up with the name until the day of the lightning strike planning. It was just getting in the way. And if it gets in the way, it'll prevent you from thinking through all the issues that take you to the category point of view, which we're going to talk about. It's just a name. Here's a tip. This is something we do in projects once in a while. If you're stuck on a category name, or your co-founders and executive team are sitting in a room and everyone's debating what makes sense, hand out yellow stickies to everybody and say, put down 5 words that you think are, should influence a category name. Have them do it. Everyone writes them down. Say, okay, now rank them from 5 to 1. So everybody ranks them. They choose the word they thought of first. It always puts a 5 in. Then take those words, build a spreadsheet. And if a word is ranked as a 5, put that word in 5 times. If it's ranked as a 2, put it in twice. And then do that for all the yellow stickies and keep building this spreadsheet, and then copy it into a word cloud generator. And then you look at it and you can visually get some creative ideas on what words might make sense. Here, connected is important, intelligence important. What's interesting is the word that the client was focusing on was advertising. And this exercise caused them to throw it out the window. Trademark. Everybody wants to protect everything they do. IP lawyers live in big houses and have big boats. Category design, you don't protect it. It's a gift to the world. You want your competitors to use your category. If people don't think of the category as just a prolific common thing, then it'll be yours and you'll be the only one that has it. And sure, Google will put you at the top every time, but your competitors and the analysts and Gartner, they'll never create a magic quadrant titled my category name if it's trademarked. So come up with something general and think about your competitors. What category should we create that's going to be different? You're going to be able to educate the market, and you'll eventually, because of the way category design works, you'll become the leader. But if you protect it so much that nobody else wants to touch it, then you're going to fail. You'll fall on your face. Now, if you have a lawyer or if you have technology that is very protectable, it's IP, you're just, falling on your face when you tell your lawyer, we don't want to trademark this or register it. There's a process called provisional trademarking. So this is the out. If you got an investor that demands you to do this, file a provisional trademark application, then just put it in the drawer. And in 3 years, when your competitor goes to try to register it, you can pull it out and it's yours. How big is your market? So in the book, there's a concept called your suit size. You wear your suit today, Your software does something for advertising, and it does it for consumer marketing. But what if your application someday could also do it for business-to-business marketing, B2B? That's the suit size. You put the suit on today that fits, but what if you made it a little bigger and grew into it? That's what the concept of suit size is all about. So don't restrict your vision. If your universe is this big, but it could be that big, create a bigger category. A $0 billion market, VCs love that. A $0 billion market means nobody else has figured this out yet. That's the kind of market you want to go after. So you've come up with a category. What do we do next? You want to mobilize your whole company, your ecosystem if you have partners, and you want to go out and do what we call a lightning strike. And some people misunderstand how the book conveys lightning strikes because they talk about really elegant, marketing campaigns, big events. Lightning strike can be simple. It can be 5 very significant people that you want to get in a room together, and you tell them about your story, your point of view, and you drop a press release on PR Newswire. You bought dinner and you spent $700, right? You can go the other way around and you can hijack a show. You can get the biggest booth, advertising Wall Street Journal. You'll spend $500,000. You can get just as effective because if you do that show and you end up with 5 clients, you could have had a really nice dinner and ended up with the same 5 clients. But a lightning strike is the concept of setting the category agenda and starting the conversation. Get people to use your taxonomy and your language. Get them to tell your story. And once you do that, the word of mouth is going to grow. Lightning strike and mobilization is setting a flag on the hill. It gives everybody in your company a destination, a goal, something to march to. It's a process of changing the way people think. When you think, the example we used earlier, if you're thinking advertising and you need to be thinking something different, what is that different? Think about what that different might be. So here's some examples. If you want to change your audience, your employees, get them to change from their old way of thinking to a new way of thinking. So you might look at something. Can we increase revenue? Can we be more relevant? But the key is to shift people away from their existing thought process. If they keep thinking, and I'll go back to the VMware example, if they keep thinking, oh, I'll just buy another computer, I'll put it in my IT center, get them to think, no, I have idle computing power, I'm going to do a virtual machine. So you get people to shift, we call them in the book Frodos, from to, and get that shift happening with everything you communicate. I'm going to talk about process and timing of a project. Now, this is somewhat based on what we do when we're working with a client, but you can take the same formula and run it through your company. Essentially, we start with, and the way we do this project, this takes about 3 months. But start with a discovery process. Come up with general questions that you might have from the book. Use Dave's 3 questions. Give it to your trusted advisors. You could have one of your board members, an investor, your executive team, co-founder, a key player that always contributes good ideas. Have them answer Dave's 3 questions on their own, and then compile the results and have everybody share the results and see where they lead you. Next thing you want to do, focus really heavy on the problem. Think it through. Think about what people really think their problem is, and don't think about solution until you have nailed the problem. Marketecture. Things like a category blueprint, an ecosystem, or your persona study. Think about your vision. What's your roadmap? Then go in and think about the name. At this point, you've done a lot of work, a lot of homework. You should start to get a feel for what your category is going to be and where it's going to go. And once you've done that, then you develop your story. Everyone here has probably put together an investor pitch deck. The pitch deck can flow from the POV. Everybody's heard about storytelling. Storytelling's old school, POV is new school. Mobilization, putting together the lightning strike. Get your whole company, your whole market, get the analysts that cover your area, get everybody heading towards the agenda and the story you want them to tell. If you focus on this framework, you'll end up working it through the same way we do, the same way the book illustrates. And if you're stuck somewhere, if you're on company POV, and you say to yourself, ah, God, go to the book. The book actually has an index. Everyone forgets that. So look up what you're stuck on and go back and read about it. Go to our website, go to PlayBigger's website. There's a bunch of information out there. Sample POVs are out there. So architecture stuff, we're going to talk about each of the examples. First one is a category blueprint. And the blueprint sets the agenda and the requirements for your category and establishes what the problem is by illustrating it graphically. People learn through listening, by doing, or by seeing. And that's where the blueprint comes in handy. This is a category blueprint. Company's called Replicon, and we're going to show some examples of their work. But they're a time clock company. In factories and businesses where you go in, you say, I start work, I'm clocked in at 8 in the morning. Boring industry, right? What they realized is time is a very valuable asset for businesses. People are a valuable asset. And they were collecting all this information about time. And what they did is they applied machine learning to their time information that they gather, and they create what they call time intelligence. So that category is time intelligence. It interfaces with all the different aspects of time tracking. It applies different technology to it to come up with insights, and basically you end up with a bunch of business recommendations. So a blueprint's just a nice graphical way to represent your category. It also becomes, in most cases, a nice marketing asset, something to put in your investor deck. Build out an ecosystem. The ecosystem is it's again graphical, and it also is a process, but the ecosystem documents sort of the flow of your business. Here's an example. This was in the book. Essentially, if you look here, they talk about there are different areas they interface with, the agencies in the marketing industry, customer development. So it's illustrating every connection of your ecosystem and the things you interface with as you conduct your business. Understand your persona. Has anyone ever done a persona map before? I think it's funny, they always name everything, you know, like Marketing Maggie, you know. I just always chuckle about that. Who are you talking to? And you're going to change, when you create your point of view, you're going to then create a messaging Bible from that. And knowing who you're talking to is highly important because you're going to tell the story differently if you're talking to an investor or if you're talking to a customer or if you're talking to the customer's CEO. HubSpot has some incredible examples on their website. Just Google HubSpot and the word persona, and you're going to find templates and slide decks and videos. They talk all about it. But essentially, here I should have used the example Marketing Mary. But you're basically mapping out everybody's, concerns, what problems they have that are unique to them, and it allows you to think differently about your category to make sure you're addressing all your different concerns and people. Know your vision and roadmap. Really important. If you're building a category today, you need to think about the promises you're going to communicate for the future. Facebook put their roadmap out. And what's funny is they didn't end up saying we dominate the world, but I think that's kind of the direction they're going. But essentially, they talk about where they're going every couple of years. And when you think about your roadmap, it allows you to translate that into your story. If you tell the story about, you can buy this widget today, that's no big deal, right? A clicker. But if Logitech told this story about this widget a couple of years ago and said, what if you could move your widget around and it moved your mouse on the screen? That's what this clicker does, which is pretty cool. What's your point of view? So basically, a point of view is a story. It's an emotional story. You want to appeal to people's instincts and their gut. The POV communicates what your whole category strategy is about. When you write your point of view, write it like you're telling a story in a bar. People call it your elevator pitch. I haven't told my story in an elevator ever, but I've told my story in a bar 1,000,000 times. Tell your story kind of like you've had 2 martinis, right? A little buzz opens up the creativity. Ernest Hemingway said, write drunk and edit sober. When you're putting your POV together, don't talk about why you're better. That just compares you to competition. Always be different. You want to establish the emotion of the problem, talk about the ramifications of not solving the problem, introduce your category and your solution, and then articulate why you're different and can solve it in no other way that anyone else can solve. Here's a point of view example. This is Replicon, the company we were just talking about, Time Intelligence. So when you're creating a point of view, it's kind of like when you were taught how to write a story back in school. Create a flow, right? A storyline. What we do is we start with the problem. Time tracking was old, clunky systems, blah, blah, blah. What are the ramifications of not doing anything with time tracking? Time goes missing. You don't know if people are cheating you on their overtime, et cetera. What's the vision for the future? AI can make this a more valuable thing to the company. Time can become valuable. Time can be an asset. And then what are the outcomes, the value of using the solution? If you map this out in a very simple way, think of it as a story, 100 words, 200 words, 100 words, 200 words. You end up with a nice short 2-minute story. This is the Replicon point of view. So a point of view, it's a written story, and when you're done, it should feel like that 3-minute video explainer that people put on their website. So I'm going to just read it and walk it through for you, but I want to see if you think of yourself as a business owner that actually has people that you track time with. Point of view is a story, and it's emotional, and it introduces the category and lets people know why they should join it. So here's Replicon's point of view. Everyone knows that time is money, but unlike money, most businesses don't know enough about their time. What did we do to turn time into money today? How much did time cost us today? Such questions are surprisingly hard to answer. Time is universal in any business. 60% of a company's cost is time. Yet there's no easy way to capture time spent and connect it to a company's work, accomplishments, events, and results. Multiple systems track time today: CRM, ERP, HR, PSA, project management. But they all do it in a different, non-connected, non-shareable way. Time goes missing because it's hard for employees to track accurately and in real time. Most time tracking features were built for the last century, tedious and sluggish, while the world changes in seconds. This makes it difficult for a company to treat time as a valuable asset. But that's exactly what it is. Time is an asset, and businesses need to understand how to best use that asset today and in the future. A 1,000-person company has around 2 million hours at its disposal in any year. Do we know what our millions of hours got us? How can we connect all of our time to all of our outcomes, analyze time, understand it, and make predictions about it? It requires a new way to think about and manage time. It requires time intelligence. Time intelligence is important to business in a way that emotional intelligence is important to people. True time intelligence is much more than the sum of static data and reports. It means businesses can connect time spent to outcomes produced and understand and deploy time as an asset. Time intelligence allows businesses to treat time the way they treat money, resources, and materials. And this new knowledge can flow back to individual employees so they can understand their own time and how they are contributing. And manage time so they are more successful, which in turn makes the company more successful. Any company that operates without understanding time as an asset is wasting time. Optimizing time, treating time as an asset, it's a competitive advantage. Getting you there is a problem Replicon solves. We've developed technology for time intelligence. Replicon built it for our IoT, mobile, cloud, and social, and AI era. It's time management for the 21st century. We call it the Time Intelligence Platform, and it liberates time from your systems and turns it into an intelligent and valuable asset. Replicon's architecture harvests time and events everywhere, in any way, and on any device. We link time to every system you rely on, legacy software, new apps, or any technology you might buy in the future. Replicon adds the intelligence layer to validate, process, analyze, and transform time into powerful information. With Replicon, you'll know how you turn time into money, and how much time costs you, and how to better use time in the days, months, or years ahead. Time as an asset is what Replicon is all about. Time intelligence is our business. Replicon, the time intelligence company. So, I just ask you all, never heard of Replicon before, do you think you understand their story? As a business owner, you understood the pain, the problem, you understood the ramifications and the solution and the category. All right? My Canadian partner snuck analyze in with an S. Did you notice that?
Everyone knows that time is money. But unlike money, most businesses don't know enough about their time. Time is a valuable strategic asset and should be treated with the same importance as money.
Any company that operates without the understanding that time is an asset is wasting time. Trunk Club is a Chicago-based personalized styling service for men and women, offering in-person and virtual shopping experiences. Trunk Club has clubhouses in every major market in the United States. Our customers come in, feel the clothes, they have a stylist working with them, and they walk out of our doors feeling great. So our national stylist team interact with our customers via text messaging or a phone call.
Okay, so what does your typical work outfit look like?
Before Replicon, time was very hard to track. With a workforce that's on the go, they're not able to clock in and out via your traditional punching in or time clock system. Time went missing.
Most time tracking features were built in the last century, tedious and sluggish. Today, the world changes in seconds.
What businesses need is a way to understand time spent and connect that time to work, accomplishments, output, and results.
This advance requires a new way to think about and manage time. It requires time intelligence. Replicon developed the technology for time intelligence for the era of IoT, mobile, cloud, social, and AI.
The Time Intelligence Platform allows a simple, common approach for us to collect time across the enterprise. Now employees have 3 options to clock in and out via the iPad, laptop or desktop, or the mobile app. It gives us real-time data of what our employees are doing, where they're clocking in and out from, and then we can connect that time to our sales and make better decisions to drive the business forward.
This is time management for the 21st century. We call it the Time Intelligence Platform. It liberates time from your systems and turns it into an intelligent and valuable resource. Replicon's architecture harvests time and events everywhere, in any way and on any device. It then validates, processes, and transforms time, making it available to time intelligence services and apps. The platform links time into every system you rely on, legacy software, or new apps you might add in the future. Replicon provides complete solutions for enterprise time management, global time and gross pay automation, and business operations software. With Replicon, you'll know how you turn time into money, how much time cost you, and how to better use time in the days, months, and years ahead. Time as an asset is what Replicon is all about. Replicon, the time intelligence company.
Yeah, so the question is, does the point of view drive the category name? And many times it does. When we go in and present a point of view to our clients, we may have come up with a category name that's not perfect. The point of view, though, will trigger people's thinking, and we end up getting to the point where the name emerges. We've also delivered them, and the name is killer. Time Intelligence was one example. We delivered it with that. But the example we gave earlier, where it took the whole 3 months before we came up with a category name, that happens. But once you get it, it's like the drop the mic moment, and you know you've got it. After the point of view, you focus on your lightning strike, mobilize your company, and communicate to the world. So obviously, you want a press release. Trade shows. Almost every industry has a trade show that you want to be at. You don't have to be big. You just have to, introduce what you're doing at the trade show. In their case, they chose one of the cheapest trade show offers you can do. They just sponsored the coffee station. But guess what? Everybody walking around with a coffee had Time Intelligence in their hand. T-shirts, brochures, and marketing materials. Focus on your POV. Notice it doesn't say the Time Intelligence Platform. It goes right to part of their POV on their data sheets. They did an event. This is actually in Vegas at the HR Tech Show. 9,000 people walking around. It's a big show. And they rented out Bouchon, which is one of the nicest restaurants in Vegas. And they hired a relevant book author, Hal Elrod, who has a series of books called The Miracle Morning. It's about using your time wisely to change your life. And he spoke, and so it was a relevant topic about time, but he didn't talk about the product. He just talks about time, got people involved. They ended up with 300 people out of the 9,000 walked over to this restaurant. As a business owner, I'd love to have 300 people focused on me. They redid their website. This is their old one. Time management for your entire workforce. Doesn't say anything. This is the new one. Time Intelligence. They're converting people into hours, and it's the ability to intelligently use time and set exceptional companies apart. What they got after the strike was unique, and this is some examples of what you want to achieve with category design. These are quotes from their sales team after the show. People are intrigued by Time Intelligence and asking who our competitors are. If people are asking who your competitors are after you're 20 years old, that's pretty damn cool. So they've established a new category. It led to further discussions of how the Time Intelligence Platform provides business intelligence we never had before. And that was a client. So there's a new understanding of what they're thinking about as it pertains to time. They're impressed by the way we recognize that time is an asset. Nobody ever said time is an asset before, right? People is our biggest asset. You hear that all the time. But they got the market to start using their point of view, their taxonomy.
Okay. Lot to unpack there. Any reactions off the top? Okay, a couple things that caught my eye. One is when the guy said that he has explained what he's done 1,000,000 times in a bar. I don't know about you, but I don't think I've been in a bar 1,000,000 times, but it's very insightful about how that guy kind of operates, I suppose. The other thing that this area, just so you know, in terms of venture capital funded companies, this particular thing is either number one or number two in terms of outside consultants that get hired, or if they actually hire someone in-house with this expertise. It's really critical when you're trying to disrupt an entire industry, like Tesla or Dropbox, for those who are familiar with that. There's products that just kind of create new categories. But if you start to think about it from your perspective, and I highly recommend the book, Play Bigger is what it's called. There may be ways that you can apply some of this stuff to your business. In fact, I know there is, and it may well give you a boost. You're slogging it out. You've been doing this for a while, and you're kind of battling for awareness, battling for shelf space, battling for sales. If you sit back and think a little bit about how could you position yourself, your company, in such a way as that it would cut through the consumer fog or the consumer awareness problem. And I'm happy to work with anybody offline on this, or just ask some questions. But I just encourage all of you to give some thought. Is there any kind of positioning that you could do that would really help people get a handle on why you're better, why you're different? And just thinking off the top of my head while I was watching this, and this is not fully thought through, so please don't take this to heart. But I was thinking of someone like Ruth with her Mrs. Ruth Jams, and the fact that Ruth has won 3 national awards for the best tasting jam. Most people don't even win once, and she's won 3 times. So there's got to be something in there that can be, the first national winning jam, or maybe you could even go really crazy and say the first jam created by machine learning. Ruth is a machine, but this is what I'm talking about. The idea. Go ahead, Ruth. What do you have to say about that?
Well, no, I do love it, but I don't know about me being a machine. But anyway, that's cute. No, but this really kind of hit me when he started talking about the problem, and I think that I had an epiphany there, because I think I've been in writing the copy for ads and stuff in corporate speak that I did in my past life, and realizing that I'm really not being in persona of Mrs. Ruth when I'm writing the copy, that I'm going back to muscle memory of what I learned when I wrote for tech companies. And it was a really interesting aha for me this morning.
That's great. Well, I think that's great. And I think that, we all rely on what's worked for us in the past. But this kind of thing, or taking a look at something like this, really gives you a chance to kind of step back a little bit and think about, just like Ruth just said, she's a former, I believe, IBM executive, she's not being Mrs. Ruth. She's being an IBM executive because that's what she did so well for so many years. So it is a great example. And the process, even if you just do it yourself with that book, or even without the book, it really think about, your positioning. Where are you in the pantheon of choices that consumers have? And I think almost everybody here, if not everybody, really has some unique characteristics that no one else can match, even though you may well be in a broader category as you understand it. So I think this particular exercise, this whole subject area it's really, really big. It's a really big deal. And you know, you don't normally hear about this. You hear about advertising, marketing. You know, a lot of that stuff is really old information. I mean, I'm a marketing management double major from the Stone Ages, and all the stuff that I learned literally is no longer used and at all, unless you happen to be, you know, Clorox or something. You know, it just is not used, and there's so many things that have been learned. And to me, this whole idea of creating a category and then dominating the category and then taking action, they call it a lightning strike, typical consulting type approach. But do something, take action on your insight in your positioning. It could be a series of social media posts. It doesn't have to be a national ad campaign. And I don't know if you all are aware of this. I know we've talked about this in the past, but there's a couple opportunities here as you do the work to determine your category and your positioning. You know, writing a press release is really, really easy. If you go and Google how to write a press release, then you literally find gazillions of templates that you can use on Word and just fill in your stuff. So it's not black magic, you know, how you write this. Then where you send that press release, it's something you got to figure out, right? You've got to figure out, maybe it's a bunch of influencer websites, or maybe it's media in your particular area, or you know, maybe it is national media. I don't know, but that's something that you can do. It's not very hard to do at all. But you know, that messaging and that consistency, particularly once you've figured out this category that you know you can put in people's minds where you fit, is a really great competitive advantage. And I don't see any negative at all with this process, other than, like anything else, it takes time. But as Ruth shared, you know, she came to a realization about something that she was doing by thinking about this, and that's really what our goal with this whole class really is, to try to bring to you what are some of the things that high growth companies do, right? And this is one of them: category design, category strategy, you know, all that kind of thing. So I get really pumped every time I watch this. I think it's really, really just eye-opening. And if you haven't been exposed to it before, you know, it is in our member resources on accelerateworld.org. You can, there's a whole series of worksheets here if you want to get into that. You know, feel free and feel free to watch them again. Most of this, guys, if you notice the videos, they're really short, 2 or 3 minutes. So you can get the gist of particular things if you didn't quite catch it today. But one of the things that and this may just be because I'm getting old, I'm not as sharp as I used to be, but I find I have to go over this stuff, you know, several times to really get it. You know, I had believe it or not, I had a cinema teacher when I was in high school. Our school was pretty interesting high school, and one of the tracks was actually cinema and art as a subject. And we had a teacher who was really internationally known as a film critic, I guess, or film whatever, what her deal was. But I'll never forget one of the things that she said, which I have found to be really, really helpful over the years. She believed you had to watch a movie at least 4 times to get the message. If it was a quality movie, or one that she was trying to communicate something. And I'll be darned, even to this day, if I watch the movie even twice, the second time is a completely different experience than the first. And the third, same sort of thing. You just figure stuff out. So don't feel bad if you have to look at this stuff a bunch or more than once. It's okay. It's really pretty normal. And one of the advantages of this kind of on-demand video is, in fact, that ability to do that. And so I just want to encourage everyone to this category design, to me, the whole idea of categorization is just, I can't emphasize it enough as something that will make one of the biggest differences in your business. So anybody want to talk about that or have any reaction to that? Allison, what do you think? I know you've been here before. All right, Allison is taking a break, I guess. All right. Well, Kyle, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I was going to say that I'm reverting back to yesterday's class as well as today is Sana has almost a brand new category, and she's trying to figure out where she fits. So, I hate she's not here today to see the other part of this, but I know she's seen it before. But I'm kind of keep thinking about, where is her fit in the product that she has and the message she's trying to convey. So, and then in regards to not only her, I'm looking at mine and saying, okay, now, because it's easier for me to sometimes you can't see the forest for the tree. So when I'm focusing on her, it makes me think deeper into my own situation to see where things are going on to. So, but anyway, but that's good. And I don't want to say it's my mission and project, but I am trying to figure out where I see her as a fit, because I think I love her product and I think it's wonderful. I just, it's almost like the 5-hour energy shot. I mean, seriously, and maybe it's going back to that and following that story and seeing how they projected that and see if maybe that resonates with anywhere with her. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah. No, I was a consultant for a long time, so this is the world of consulting, and it's really hard to turn it off, even when the client's not paying you anymore. Has been my experience. So, and I think of her also, and I think of all of you at different times, depending on kind of what I'm dealing with. But it is helpful to see. And one of the things, we've talked about in other classes and previous classes, and we'll get to again, but this whole idea of product market fit, right? Where does your solution fit in the market? And, even in this category design, one of the exercises that you're asked to do is how big is the category? I mean, the category that you're playing in might be too small. It might not have enough juice depending on what it is you're trying to do. So I think that's really what it boils down to in many cases is, what problem are you solving? How big is the problem? And if you figure out how to solve it, what does that look for you, for your business size, opportunity, upside, et cetera. And so that's why this is kind of a little bit of a ruthless process, where you, despite your emotional attachment to the solution that you might have at the moment, it might not be that good. It might not be good enough. It might not be big enough, or just understand what you're doing. I think that's really what it goes the way you want it to go. What does that look like? Try to project that as much as you can, because that's what you're living with. That's you. That's your business, and your business life in this particular instance is going to be defined by a lot of outside forces that you really don't have that much influence on. Things like demand and changing tastes or in the marketplace. So. It's not a wonder that hardly anybody wants to be an entrepreneur anymore. It's really hard. And even if you think you've, reinvented water, which I think 5-hour energy actually did. I actually met that guy. He's crazy. He's a total crazy guy from rural Arkansas, believe it or not. So anyway, that's just the way it is. It's a nonstop process that you have to figure out not only how do you get your product to market, but also how you analyze your business and how you evaluate where you're at and where you're going. It becomes harder and harder the bigger you get, especially if you don't have a lot of employees. You're doing even more yourself. It's just really hard to maintain perspective. So. I think Kyle is right. We talk about Sana and others that as they face these challenges, maybe it becomes clearer in our mind than it does for ourselves. In my case, as a consultant, I always could see other people's problems and not so good at seeing my own. In my experience, at least that was my business experience. So I appreciate that comment. It's good. Anyone else want to?
Dennis, this is Allison. I couldn't figure out how to get my mute off.
Oh, no
Um,
problem. Welcome. How are you?
I agree with time, and what I have found with my business, what I started out with, I've evolved and moved into a different category just based on hearing what people are asking for. So you have to really stop and think, can I afford to move my product? Because you've got to have, in my situation, you've got to have the recipes reanalyzed. That's an additional expense. You've got to have your labels redone because the labels have to be true to what the product is on the inside. That's an expense. Then you have to kind of remarket. But at the same time, the customer is forcing you to move in those different areas. I really liked what the speaker presented. It gives you a fresh look on how you market yourself. I like the idea of how to tell your story from a perspective of being in a bar. You know, you just sort of relax and not focus on the, the technical side. So it gives, I really like today's presentation.
Oh, good. Well, I tell you, when they start bringing out Ernest Hemingway telling you to write drunk, this is not PG rated, this class. I don't think I've ever encouraged anyone to get drunk when they figure out their product. But hey, what do I know? Ernest Hemingway seemed to do okay with a flask in his back pocket, I guess, depending on your definition of doing well. But it did strike me as a while there's a lot of drinking going on in that that world that those guys live in. I don't think I could make it there. I don't have the luckily I don't have the proclivity to wanting to drink at that level. So but anyway, Allison, for those of you who don't know her, she has had a freezer jam, at least that my last awareness of what her product was. And she's done a lot of interesting things. She sold live streaming. And I at some point, Allison, I'd like to hear more about your story, about what you learned and how you learned it and that kind of thing. But the point is, she is paying attention to what she is getting, input she is getting. And she has identified that there are some hard costs associated with it, at least in her case, to make those changes. But at the same time, like the whole definition of insanity is doing the same thing the same way and expecting a different outcome. You can't, if what you're getting is not what you want or where you're going, hey folks, you gotta pivot and adjust. So that's all good. So, well, thank you all for jumping in today. And we're going to start to get into some best practices of I hate to use the word website design, but it's going to be marketing communications via digital channels. How are you communicating your value proposition, your business, your category, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to start getting into some really kind of I don't know if down and dirty is the right word, but specifically what works. And we're going to hear from some people that have figured it out, at least at one level. So that's kind of our next stage that we're going to be going to. Now we also will be we'll be having guest speakers. We're going to get a little bit more into the whole exporting thing, which I know we talked about sometimes, and we've had some sessions on how do you do that or why do you do that. So anyway, lot of stuff coming up, and so I appreciate you all hanging on. As one of the things that I try to do is I do try to tailor the content to the group and where the group is at from my perspective. So it is different, at least subtly different every session, because the group has a different makeup. So that's why I haven't given out like a curriculum and a list of every single class, because I haven't really figured that out yet. So to be perfectly honest, but we'll get there. So, all right. Well, thank you all very much for tuning in, and we'll see you on Monday.
Thank you.